1 Thessalonians 5 calls us to admonish the idle, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, and good categories of thought as we think about ministry in the local church. And the reality is some brothers and sisters are weaker and they require more attention and they require different kinds of attention as we help them along. That's just a reality to it. We ought not despise them, but this can be challenging for pastors. What wisdom would you offer along those lines?
I think first thing we need to say is that there's the weak and the weaker. So I think when we have this category, I'm always usually quick to say, no, we're all weak.
There you go.
I don't want to put that category in anybody's head that there's weak and strong. And so even the command is talking about those different categories of things. So that's the first thing I would say. But there is a group, any pastor knows this, there's a group in the church that I would categorize them as they require more of your time. They don't seem to be able to find as much spiritual fruit in their life. And they're the people who take most of your time. And a lot of times you're saying the same things to over and over again in ways you maybe don't have to as much with everybody else. Some categories to put out there. And I would stress that one of the worst and common mistakes that pastors make in caring for these people in the church is they think they're the only ones that can do it. That these people, you give time, they gravitate to you. Maybe as a pastor gave time to them in a way no other pastor did or nobody else. Because they're people who are written off oftentimes as people in their lives. And that's a good thing that we can care for them. But we make calculated mistakes in convincing ourselves we're the only one. Like if this ever comes out of a pastor's mouth, it needs to have a flag go up. I'm the only one they'll talk to.
Right.
Like if that ever comes out of your mouth as a pastor, flags need to go off.
That's not a compliment
that is
to your
not,
ministry.
That does not mean you are special.
Yeah, that's right.
So I would say that we have to be mindful to bring others in. Other leaders, other just mature Christians in the church to help you. And of course, that one of the many reasons we would advocate for a plurality of pastors, elders in the church to share in this shepherding role, because it does take skilled, gifted people. You can't just hand them to anybody. So as much as we don't want to convince ourselves we're the only one that can do it, we also know that just anybody can't help them like certain people could. So we've got to kind of have a team around us, I believe, and then be patient, because these are the people that really take 2 steps forward and 1 step back in their walk with the Lord. Like a lot of us do, but I think even more so. What have you found that's been helpful in trying to care for that group of people in the church?
Right. It's either end of the spectrum, which you mentioned, this sort of Messiah complex, that I'm the only one, I'm providing answers for this person, and it can have effect if I deliver that, which is wrong. And then I think there's the other temptation, which is to run from the weaker. So on Sunday morning, you see them on the other side of the room, and you try to make a plan for dodging them because you realize it's going to be a long conversation.
I have no idea what you're talking about, James, but go ahead. No.
Well, if anyone can relate to it.
I'm being sarcastic.
Right, yeah, there's those people that you see them and you realize we're going to have the same conversation that we had last week.
Yeah, that's right.
And brothers, that's part of our great privilege. It is to walk with these that are weaker, and it may just be a seasonal weakness for them. There may be a reason why a recently widowed person needs more of our time and attention, or somebody who's having a specific struggle in an area. But we can't run from it either. This is a great part of our ministry. And so we need to be patient, which is 1 Thessalonians 5. The very next phrase that I didn't quote is, be patient with all. And it includes those that we have to continually encourage on. And so you ask me, I think both sides or both ends of that spectrum need to be addressed.
I'm glad you brought up that other side to it as well, because it's really important for us to see that it's actually a good and fruitful part of our ministry to not avoid that person, knowing we're going to have the same conversation, and go knowing we're going to have the same conversation, and that's just okay. That may just be what they need from you in that moment, and way to just be present and serve them. But if we're not mindful of that, you really can begin to try to avoid people in the church because you're going to get frustrated to have the same conversation. And that's just part of being patient and compassionate as a pastor. And if we need any proof that that's the way we're supposed to function, Jesus is that way with all of us, and that's what we're trying to mimic.
That's right. Yeah, let's use Paul's words in 2 Corinthians 12. Those weaker brothers and sisters are not the thorn in your flesh.
Yeah.
They are not. They're a gracious gift from the Lord to you and to your church family, so bear with them.
It's well said.